Because there's such a large overlap between the American Muslim community and the Arab American community, Islamophobia by default affects the Arab American community, and we make sure that we push back against that. We try to do that primarily by holding public officials accountable for their words. So when politicians say things that are anti-Muslim or pander to the anti-Muslim sentiment, we call them out on it. We put their statements out there, make them accessible to everyone. We encourage people to get in touch with them and urge them to basically backtrack on things that they should not have said. And we get in touch with their parties to try to get the party leadership to take more responsibility and hold its members to account about the kind of statements that they make. So that's primarily what we focus on. We also hold public forums with speakers like Max Blumenthal and Matt Duss and Wajahat Ali and others who work to expose the anti-Muslim network in the United States that is trying to poison the discourse and to shed light on that. Honestly, I think the most significant problem that we face in the battle of Islamophobia is a self-inflicted one. I think we're trying to play catch-up. For many years after 9/11, there have been anti-Muslim voices that we have been completely ignoring. We kept thinking the anti-Muslim contingent is a fringe. It's nobody will pay attention to them. Just don't acknowledge them. If you address them, you only legitimize them. And we've been operating under that mindset where we just wanted to dismiss them and ignore them. It was only after multiple years, really, with the Park 51 controversy, where there was such a hysteria that was, quite frankly, a mainstream hysteria about the fact that a mosque was being built in New York. And not even a mosque, it's actually an Islamic center, and it's a few blocks away from Ground Zero and what have you. Nevertheless, when you saw the kind of reaction to it, that was our wake-up call. That was saying, whoa, this anti-Muslim sentiment has penetrated way too far into the mainstream, and that's now we're trying to play catch-up and we're trying to push back against it. If I could give an analogy, it would be like a stroller sliding down a hill, and we're still trying to run down to get a hold of it, to make sure it doesn't slide down any further. That's to say nothing about the work that we still have to take to push the cart back up to the top of the mountain. It's one thing to try to stop and limit the spread of Islamophobia, and it's another to try to reverse the damage that has been done so far. Generally speaking, I think the fact that we live in an interconnected world now has had both positive and negative impacts in terms of people's perception. On the one hand, it's much easier to share information, travel is much cheaper, people can go to different places. So I think our common humanity comes across a lot easier. It's a lot easier to see that people over there are just like people over here. And that really what unites people from different cultures is a lot more significant and a lot larger than the things that divide us from different cultures. On the other hand, I think modern technology has also made it easier to spread misinformation. The internet now is increasingly how people get information, and you can't always verify that what's on the internet is actually accurate information. And the ease of use of tools like YouTube and other platforms make presenting false information as credible information in a professional fashion all that much easier. And I think the lines become more blurred about the information that's out there. It becomes more difficult to judge whether you're looking at credible information that's accurate or whether you're looking at propaganda. So in that sense, I think it's been a neutral advance towards the way we communicate across the world right now. And what we really ought to be making sure is that people who are interested in spreading correct information, people who are interested in promoting understanding, are making sure that they're working more tirelessly than the people who are capitalizing on people's ignorance, trying to promote bigotry and division. What ultimately matters is something a lot more subjective. Is the discourse changing in the country? Is it more difficult to be mainstream and anti-Muslim at the same time in the future? Are we going to get to a point where U.S. policy is substantively and drastically different from what it is now in terms of both foreign and domestic policy? I think these are the kinds of things that really matter at the end of the day, and you can't really measure them. You're just going to have to work as hard as you can in the meantime, and in a few years look at the kind of country that you live in and see if you've actually made substantive progress.